Hi, this is Vicky, also known as Dragonfly7673. Today is Friday, March 28th, and it is about 7 o'clock. Since I last spoke to you, I went to Knit-topia, and I went to Cambridge, Ontario for work. So I have a bunch of stuff to show you and talk to you about. And I was gonna wait, and then I realized that if I'm picking up my son, that'll be a whole new set of things to talk to you about, and I may not have time right away. So I figured I'd touch base with you today. And you guys know I am no longer apologizing for the schedule being wonky. Life happens, and I still put, there's still an episode approximately once a week. Everything seems to be okay with Hipcast. I also noticed, because on Downcast I did not unsubscribe to all my blip feeds for different podcasts. All of a sudden one day last week, a whole bunch of blip shows came through. Knit Girls, Sort of a Knitter, a whole bunch of people. All of a sudden a bunch of the most recent episode came, which also made me realize how many I had been missing. So I had to go back, and I had like 4 episodes of Knit One Heart 2 that I needed to watch, 4 episodes of Knit Girls, 4 episodes of Geeky Girls. And I kind of knew I was missing them, but I hadn't gone hunting for the new subscriptions. So if you're noticing that you're not getting your podcast feeds, I highly recommend that whether you're using iTunes or Downcast or Dogcatcher or whatever kind of way you're watching your podcast, you may, if you're somebody who downloads, you may want to try unsubscribing and resubscribing. One thing to know for this podcast, if you are using the old feed, the little logo will be the picture of my ankle with the high-heeled boot and my high-heeled shoe and my tattoo, my dragonfly tattoo. If you are using the new feed, you will see a logo that's similar to my buttons, which I don't have here, where it is the dragon, where it is a white background and an image of my tattoo, but sketched out. So in a circle. I will post right here, old and new. And in case you have missed it, the new feed is http://feeds.feedburner.com/video/DragonflySoars. I will also put that in the end, probably in the end credits, if I can figure out how to fit it in there. But that is also on the Ravelry board. It is one of the sticky threads. Alright, now that the technical stuff is done, let's talk about the fun stuff. So Thursday morning, I woke up very early. I actually had spent Monday and Tuesday helping my son with some end-of-year stuff for school. And so Wednesday I was kind of in a panic packing, but luckily I have a pretty good list. Every time I go to a retreat I have a packing list, and so I kind of look at those packing lists and revamp them for the current retreat. And Tina actually had a very good list of all, well, she kept sending us emails that got a little longer that had all the information we needed. And one thing that was kind of a last minute thing is I needed to bring sheets. I originally wasn't supposed to. There was some move around of the rooms, so I ended up having a king-size bed all to myself, which I won't complain about. I did try to tell Margie that she could have gotten up off the floor and slept with me. She was not on the floor itself. She was on a cot or a blow-up mattress, something like that. But I drove Thursday. I got up at about 4:30, and I was on the road 5:15. I had already gotten gas the day before. I stopped and got coffee at McDonald's, and I was on my way. There was a lot of stops for coffee and potty breaks. Those kind of were circular, because every time I stopped to go to the bathroom, I either got coffee or water. And which meant I was going to have to stop again. But it was a very good trip. It took me about 9 hours, which wasn't horrible. I got through Chicago just fine. And I got to meet Sandy again. I've met her several times. And now I'm going to try really hard to stop calling her Angela. And which is a problem, because even when I'm talking to best friend, I realize all of a sudden I'll call her Angela when I'm not thinking. And he looks at me, do you mean the real Angela or the not Angela? The not Angela, the Sandy. I'm catching myself more about it. I'm so sorry, Sandy. Anyway, so she helped get me settled and showed me which was my bed, and then they had, my stuff is all kind of mixed up. I may be showing you things totally out of order. So I'm just going to kind of tell you how things went, and then we'll kind of pull things. So I got my name tag, which ended up being a dragonfly. It was semi-planned. Michelle knew that I like dragonflies, so she made sure that there was a dragonfly for the door name tag and the personal name tag, but she couldn't promise that they'd still be there, but they were. So I got to have those. Let me see if I can find them, and if I can't, I'll just post a picture here. So you saw a picture of the door with all the name tags. It looks like a lot because of the way Knit-topia works, with the first weekend, midweek, and last weekend being 3 different sections that you could pick and choose from. You could do 1, 2, or 3 of those if you can afford the cost and the time off of work. But anyway, so the door looks really full, but not all those people were there by the time we got there. But this is my name tag, and you saw my door name tag. So they matched. They're cute. And I honestly don't remember what happened the first night. I believe I got a little stitch marker for playing a game where we had to make a pom-pom. On Thursday night was kind of just everybody gathering, and we had fabulous food through the whole retreat. It's all kind of potluck. Everybody signs up for something, and you need to do at least one thing during each leg. So if you're there for 3 legs, you've got to do 3 things. And this was I've been scolded that I'm not supposed to talk up the retreat too much because it's not huge, and the it was a lot of fun. I mean, Tina did a wonderful job, and the food was great. There's some things they already have planned. You know, the last Saturday, they do what they call everything must go vegetable soup, and they take all the leftover veggies from the whole retreat and put them in a stock pot and make soup. And whatever is there, that's how it comes out. So it was Friday. We were kind of laughing about it being Knit-topia Unplugged. The whole section of Michigan was without power. And the biggest problem with this was not the heat. The heat was a little bit of a problem, but we're knitters. We had lots of knitwear and blankets and stuff. The problem was the water and the septic, meaning we didn't have any water to cook with. We didn't have electric to cook on, and most importantly, we did not have working toilets because you didn't have any water to fill into the toilet, and we didn't have septic for it to go into. So there were a couple runs into a neighboring town that did have power. But it was, even with that, and it meant we didn't do some of the activities that day. We didn't do yarn dyeing that day because we were going to need the microwave to set the dye. So I'm trying to remember what else. I don't know. There's a couple things we didn't do because we were going to need either electricity or water. I am so sorry. Everything is going to be all a big jumble because it's a big jumble in my head. I'm having trouble remembering what day it is right now even. So Friday was the day without power. Saturday, I did dye yarn. I used Easter egg dye. And we had vinegar water, and we'd soaked our yarn in vinegar. In fact, the yarn had been soaked in vinegar for quite some time because we had put it in the water on Thursday with the anticipation of dyeing Friday morning, and then we didn't have power or water, so the dyeing didn't happen until Saturday, which meant we actually ended up having this soak for well over 24 hours. But then I used, some people were using Wilton cake dyes, which came out really vibrant. I used Easter egg dyes, the little pellets, and we put 3 of them in a bottle. One of the bottles was supposed to be purple, and we ended up accidentally adding red to it, which ended up coming out this pink. Now all these colors were much darker when I first did them, and then they ended up kind of lightening and brightening up. And I have pictures of this. But what I really was amused by was the fact that my name tag ended up exactly matching this yarn. So I'm going to post a picture of this, but it actually has the name tag on it because I was amused. Now, when we arrived, we were also given a goodie bag that had, it has a lot of coupons and things, you know, 15% off, 10% off, patterns, and a bunch of little things. It had, we each got a magazine. Like I got a W Bliss magazine in here somewhere. We also got a Knit-topia mug and a Knit-topia canvas bag, which has the same logo, which is the same logo as on the shirt. And then on Saturday, I think it was Saturday, it must have been Saturday, we did our Bling Your Bag. Oh, maybe we did that Friday. We might have done this Friday because we didn't really need a lot of water. You had a little bit of water for the paintbrushes, and we had some water left, so I think this might have been Friday. I really don't remember. I'm so sorry. But I did some buttons and some glitter, and it was fun. It means it's unique to me. Friday night we did a fashion show / introduce your stuffed animal. So I was actually wearing my blue sweater that I knit recently for the 30-day sweater challenge. And part of the reason I brought that sweater was because I could also wear it to work, which I was going to right after. I ended up not wearing it to work because it was fairly warm in the offices we were at, and so I decided not to. But I had it, so I wore it for the fashion show and explained it. And I also, I showed Bruno the bear. You might notice that Bruno the bear is still here. So, Sandy and Adelia were collecting animals, and the larger ones were going to Sandy. And Sandy had said that you could donate your animal, or if you wanted, you could donate $1 instead of donating your animal. And I donated $5 and kept Bruno, because I've gotten kind of attached to him. He's squishy and lovable, and one day, early last week or the week before, sometime before I went on the retreat, I was missing Dad and I was crying, and I cried into his head, and he's mine. I couldn't give him up, and I swear he's smiling bigger because he got to come home. Best friend thinks I'm nuts. He's keeping me anyway, but he still thinks I'm nuts. So, Bruno came back. But that's okay. I just, you know, I do a lot for different things, and this one I just couldn't do. Felt like I was going to regret giving him up. So, he stayed. Thursday night we also did fun introductions, and we got randomly paired up, and I ended up being paired up with Susan Pandorf, who designed the Even Star. And I think it's funny because there's still a small part of me that's going, oh my god, Susan Pandorf. And at the same time, she was one of the people that I hung out with all weekend. It was pretty much, I talked to everybody. I met so many awesome people. I got to know a woman named Becky. I got to know Irene as I helped her on Saturday loading her car. It was very dark outside, and the driveway was full of ice, and she was parked fairly far down because she had to leave, but she had a lot of stuff to carry. So I was using my iPhone as a flashlight and helping her carry stuff and lighting the way. And we took several trips back and forth, and so I ended up talking to her a lot. And I enjoyed the time talking to her. And later I got an email saying that she had thought she kind of knew me, and then she realized later that I was that dragonfly, which just tickled me. So I was very glad to help her. Anyway, so I ended up partnering with Susan Pandorf, and we had to introduce each other. So, and that was fun. She didn't realize I had a 17-year-old. I'm like, oh yeah, definitely. He was doing good. He's coming home for the week. All right. One of the days we did our partner swap. My swappee ended up not being able to make it, so she does not have her package yet. I'm hoping she likes it. But somebody else from the retreat was taking it with. And then Michelle had me, and she put together this fabulous package. And Michelle is highly allergic to wool. She can't touch it. She can't be near it when we're spinning. We have to be careful that that she's on the correct side so it's not blowing at her. And yet her first love is crochet, and then she also will knit. Kind of like my first love really is knitting, and I will crochet. Although I seem to be doing a lot more crochet lately. But one of the things for our swap was a handmade item. Well, you guys saw the cowl I made for my swap partner. Well, Michelle made me this absolutely beautiful bag. She said she'd been stalking the podcast. So it's got a black bottom, and then these colors, and this cute drawstring. I love this bag. It's special and cute, and it's really sturdy. I mean, it has things in it right now, but even if it didn't, it's sturdy. And then she gave me 3 different colors, and she gave me 2 balls each, but I don't feel like pulling them all out right now. But she gave me 3 different colors of Knit Picks Felici yarn, and in Shamrock, Splash, and Foxglove. And she can't touch these, so she actually had somebody else wrap them up for her. She also gave me the little dragonfly charms and chocolate, which I was nice and shared a piece with best friend. And yes, I said a piece. He might get more, because I'm not a huge chocoholic, so when I do have chocolate, I tend to savor it. And she gave me a mixed one, and it had dark chocolate in it, and I love dark chocolate. That's my favorite. And I find it the most satisfying. I can usually eat a piece and be totally happy. Milk, I tend to want more and more and more. And, but best friend likes white chocolate the best, and so he had one of those. Okay. We also, the day we got our shirts, we also got our custom colorway. You can order ahead yarn or fiber, or both. I ordered fiber, and the custom colorway came from Fiber Nymph Dye Works. Now I haven't pulled this out, so I do have a picture, but it's a little funky because it's in the plastic. But it is teals and golds, and then they blend together. And then coordinating color, I have the teal. So that is, they are 85% Pullworth, 15% tussa silk. I believe 4 ounces. I think. It doesn't say right on there. I'm going to pause real quick and show you pictures of the bag and the yarn from Michelle and those 2 colorways. Alright, I had told you a couple of things, but I also forgot a couple of things. When in the bottom of in our goodie bag, there was also a Knit-topia stitch marker by Caterpillar Designs. And then when we did the contest over who can make a pom-pom, the person that won got a prize, but the rest of us all got to pick something out of a goodie bin, and I ended up with another stitch marker, partially because I didn't realize we had the first one yet. I hadn't dug in my goodie bag well enough. Which became apparent at one point when somebody was asking about something, and I realized that I had not read the booklet that came with. And in the booklet has there was approximate times for meals. There was what we were going to be doing on the different days. There's a list of the participants, their email addresses, and their Ravelry IDs, so we could find them. There was things about swaps and how to get raffle tickets. There was a picture scavenger hunt. I struggled with that a little bit. You have to really join up and do a lot of pictures, and I just never really did that. There was a class, and I think it was before the power went out on Thursday, to do this Knit-topia wristlet, which actually was really cool when they were doing them. There's a chart for it. They also did kitty beans. They didn't do kitty beans during the leg I was there, but there were several on display. There's a bunch of information on here for coupon codes and people that helped sponsor. I mean, the Lion Brand, Martingale, High-YC Dye Works, the Inspinity Wires, Leading Man Fiber Arts, Dye for Yarn, Wool to Dye For. The yarn that we dyed was actually from Wool to Dye For, and mine is baby alpaca and something. I think it's the baby alpaca and BFL Aran weight. But there's all sorts of people in here that helped, and so that was in the goodie bag. There also, I didn't find this until I got home, there was a book at the bottom, Kitty Knits, which is, there are some things that are for kitties, and there are some things for kitty lovers. So, as it says, it's projects for cats and their people. So, you know, there's things like that's from the cover. There are slippers. I'm trying to see if there's a different picture. No. There are slippers that look like kitties, sort of. A felted doorknob kitty toy for the cat. Anyway, a bunch of things in this, and I didn't realize it was in the bottom. It was kind of funny because I had put a lot of stuff in bins or a couple bags for Sandy to take with her, so I didn't have to take it over the border. And so then after I got home and I waited for Best Friend to get home, I was opening everything up and like rediscovering things, and in some cases I didn't even know I had it, like that book. This was the magazine that was in the bottom, that was in my goodie bag. Everybody had, there were similar ones, but we didn't all necessarily get the same one. And I haven't got a chance to look at it yet. There was another one that was more kids' clothes, and I'm glad I have this one. But when I've glanced through, there's some really interesting things in here. So, but I haven't had a chance to really look at it. I got the new Ply magazine right before I left. I haven't looked at that either. I also forgot to tell you that Michelle, when she did the swap package, she's the one that made all these pins and everything. Well, she also made me a whole batch of tags that say handcrafted with love and have knitting needles and yarn. And they're all similar, but they all have different color backgrounds. So, which I thought was very sweet. Let's see. On one of the nights, Friday night, I believe, we did, maybe it was Saturday, I don't remember. We did a brown bag swap where we just had some yarn from our stash that we put in a bag. And then we just wrote on the bag what weight of yarn it was. So like I donated fingering weight. And then we drew tiles and decided who was going to go first, and the first person could kind of reach in and grab something. And so I ended up with this really pretty shepherd's wool teal color. I think it was donated by Amy, not Farrah Fowler. Her real name's Amy Fowler, but not Farrah Fowler from Big Bang. I think it was from her. Anyway, it is shepherd's wool. It says to knit on size 2, so it's a fingering weight. The colorway is Lakeshore, and they are 230 yards. They're 1.5 ounces approximately. So very nice. And then Susan was sitting next to me, and she got 2 yarns in hers, and one of them she really liked, and the other one she wasn't quite sure was her, and so she actually gave it to me. And this was this is called "How Come You Didn't Tell Me I Look Like a Crazy Birthday Cake in This Shirt." I am sure there is a story behind it. It is from 716X Knit. And this is the 716 sock. But I love the colorway name. How come you didn't tell me I look like a crazy birthday cake in this shirt? And I like crazy colors, so I was happy to take it. And it's already skeined up, which means it might get used. I did work on my sock a little bit, but mostly I worked on my shawl during the retreat, so I will show you that later. I'm going to pause for a minute and put in pictures. The other things that Tina was doing was, in the evening, she had us all stand around a table, and she had a bunch of prizes or gifts on the table. Now, my first instinct when she said she was going to draw a name and you got to pick one, I thought sure she was going to do a white elephant. I guess in previous times she has done it where you pick something and then she draws another name, and whatever you picked, you give to the next person. But the 2 nights we did it, she let us just keep our present. So, the one night I got the Knitter's Handbook, which is one that I have wanted. I tend not to buy research books. I like having them, but then if I'm going to spend money on them, I go, well, I could look that up. But this is a Reader's Digest book. I grew up with the big Reader's Digest books. Mom still has them. They've got dog-eared pages, and I think they even have bookmarks and stuff in them. And I mean, we all use them frequently. So this has all sorts of stuff about selvage edges and embossed knitting and lace work. I mean, it's a bunch of cast-ons and cast-off, and it's not a pattern book. It is definitely it has instructions on how to read patterns, but it is definitely a reference book. It has how to fix mistakes, all kinds of things. So the next day, oh, where'd it go? Ah, I set it over here. The next day, I won a 10-pack of this yarn. Now, I didn't bring the whole 10-pack up here because it was in plastic. You couldn't see it anyway. I just pulled one out. This is Universal Yarns Classic Worsted. It is machine washable and dryable. Made in Turkey. It is 80% acrylic, 20% wool. And 10 balls means that I have 1,970 yards. This is important. One of the things that the whole Knit-topia group, now you have to realize the Knit-topia actually started out as the knitting group getting together for a retreat and having a girls' day, a girls' weekend type thing, you know, or long week or whatever. And then they started, you know, letting other people know about it. And I'm very happy that I live in the area and I actually know several of these people, or I've seen them at other retreats, and I'm really feeling like I am getting to know them. And I'm hoping I can go next year. But anyway, one of the things they like love is the Knit Swirl book. And the Knit Swirl sweater is actually a series of sweaters in this book that are similar but different. And every time you see someone put on one of the sweaters, it doesn't matter which style it is, it doesn't really even matter which size it is, it looks good. Either it fits close and it looks like a fitted jacket, or it's looser and looks casual. I have yet to see someone put it on and not look great. Now there are a few things where some of the sleeves are more fitted than others, so sometimes the sleeves can be a personal comfort issue, but honestly this sweater grouping looks good on everyone. And so the Knit-topia group actually had, you know, they were doing a knit-along, and they were doing another knit-along, and they're doing another knit-along for next year. And I have kind of wanted to make one, but it takes a lot of yarn, you know. It can take up to 2,000 yards of yarn, depending on what size and what style. I don't really have any, and I wasn't sure if I liked it well enough. But I won 2,000 yards of yarn, essentially. So, I ordered. I was still in Canada, and I ordered this because all of a sudden, while I was driving from the retreat to Canada, I went, oh, I can make a knit swirl. I was so excited because I was trying to figure out what I was going to do. And in my head, oh, sorry, I jiggled you guys. All of a sudden, I'm like, oh, I can make a knit swirl. So I ordered the book. Now, this is one of the only times when Amazon Prime failed me. Not because it was late, because it was on time, and I wasn't home. And I was not thinking about the fact that it was raining and snowing. So the box was damp, and the book got a little damp. It's a little wavy. It's fine, but it didn't like being outside. I should have waited another 2 days to order it. But most of the pictures in the book, the sweaters look big on the people. Every time I have seen the sweater in person, and I have seen it a few times now, they look fabulous. So now I have to decide which one I want to knit, and I don't have time quite yet. But Tina has already knit 2, I believe. I believe she's on her 3rd. Lori, I believe, had 2. Debbie, Fluffy Dog Owner, has at least 1, I think 2. Oh, I got a yarn bowl from Debbie, and I don't have it handy. I will post a picture of it. It's a beautiful yarn bowl. When I saw her at Knitting in the Mitten, I bought a mug, and this time I got a yarn bowl. And I've always kind of been in the I don't know if I need a yarn bowl camp, because for the most part I tend to carry my projects with me. But while I was sitting at the retreat and using it, it was nice. It was very nice. So I think I will use it more than I thought I would. It's really pretty. I will have to take a picture. Mom has a really big one that Dad bought her. He was so proud of himself because it was all on his own. He had never even heard her talk about a yarn bowl, and he had picked it out, and he was so proud. And she uses it all the time because when she's crocheting her dolls, she's usually in one spot, so she uses it. Anyway, so I bought the Knit Swirl book, and I have 10 balls of this. And so at some point this year, before, assuming I'm going to Knit-topia in 2015, I don't know that yet, but, well, whether I go or not, I'm going to be making a knit swirl because it just seemed like the perfect matchup. Okay, I'm going to pause for a second. Well, the last night, we had the one night we had a fashion show where you were actually showing things that you had knit. On Saturday, we had kind of a wild and crazy get-up one. Now, not everybody participated in that one, but Deborah and Becky dressed up like the Breaking Bad people, I'm assuming. I've never seen Breaking Bad. But they had knitting bad across their back, and they were wearing these yellow hazardous suits, and they were giving out blue meth, which was blue rock candy. And they had the face masks on, and their face masks were knit. It was so funny. And Angela, actual Angela, Angela was wearing one of her, she does belly dancing, and so she was wearing one of her outfits, and she said that in previous years she's been working on making one of her outfits, and so she decided to actually wear one. Plus she also was wearing this knit sleeves. It just kind of went across the back and then had full sleeves. It worked well with her outfit. I am not posting pictures of that because I do not have permission to swoosh that all over, but it was a riot. Then they gave out awards, and I got the Wisconsin Traveler Award because I was traveling from Wisconsin to Lexington, Michigan, to Cambridge, Ontario, and then home again. So, and then I think Saturday we drew for prizes from the raffle. It must have been, because Sunday some people left really early. Oh my God. Saturday she wanted to know who had to leave when, and we had to rearrange our cars according to when we were leaving. Well, I ended up parked right in the middle, and Tina told me don't park in the mud puddle, and unfortunately the mud puddle was huge and there really didn't seem to be a way not to park in the mud puddle, so I ended up parked in the mud puddle. But I didn't mind that for walking in. I just didn't wear my shoes in the house afterwards. So that part was fine. The next morning she's going, you might have a flat tire. Because my tire looked like it went out there. No, my tire was not flat. My entire car had sunk about 4 inches into the mud. And so my car was much shorter than it was supposed to be. And then it was very cold. I think it was only 6 degrees. So my car not only had sunk into the mud, it had frozen into the mud. So luckily several people helped. Colleen and Lori and somebody else. I think it was Angela. Real Angela. I'm going to keep saying that all the time. Anyway, helped push me out. You know, we were a little worried that as I was gunning the car in reverse to try and get it moving and they were pushing, that I was suddenly going to take off like a shot, but we didn't. It's all good. I only backed up about 1.5 feet, maybe 2. And I was out of the mud and not frozen to the ground anymore. So, and I thank them profusely. Yeah, it must have been Angela, because she was also talking about that if we couldn't get me unstuck, she had AAA and would have them somebody come and get me out if we couldn't. But anyway, we also did a raffle, and for the raffle, you got you you get one free raffle ticket for bringing a toy, stuffed toy. So I did bring Bruno, even though I took him home. So I got a raffle ticket for that, and then you could also buy raffle tickets, or you could earn them doing different things. Like you had to do like 3 things off of a list, and they were things like helping somebody learn something, yarn bombing. I don't know what else there was. Or you could buy raffle tickets, which helps for next year. So I actually won, I won a Samsung Galaxy tablet. I won it, and I had put in for it. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do with it because I'm an Apple girl. My son is trying to say that he wants it. I told him we will discuss it if he passes all his classes. So we'll see. I think there's an issue with one of them, but all the core ones he's doing good. And the other prize I won was this collection from Prism Yarns. Now it includes the Yarns Stash Workbook. Now I'm not sure about this. I mean, I have not looked at it, to be fair. I think Dramatic Knits and Callie, I think they reviewed this. There are some really wild looking things on here. But a big bag of different kinds of yarn. So some of it is, this is a 100% merino, 2 ounces in bright purple. There is a fun yarn, which is very similar to what I used on the edging of the one shawl, so I might use it in a similar fashion at some point. I took, one of the other things is several people at the retreat also helped make blue and green squares. We don't need any more squares. I know a couple of people were talking about making them. If you've made them, go ahead and send them, because they're going to put them for next year, but they don't need any more right now. So, but anyway, little samples, ribbon yarn. There's some fuzzy yarn. This yarn I already have a project. I have a project that will use a small amount of this yarn, but I'll show you that next week because I'm trying to keep this to the things. I'm trying to keep this podcast just to the retreat, so mostly. So, big bag of all sorts of assorted yarns. Also, while I was there, speaking of the comfort shawls, I went to Dropped Off Squares today. I also dropped off a bunch of yarn because we ended up with a bunch of blue and green and black yarn, and even if they don't need them for squares, they will still use them for shawls. So, and I didn't need the around, so I took a whole bunch of full skeins, partially used skeins, and donated them. I also had a bunch of partially used skeins of homespun that was from the store where my mom works, where they've used part of it for a sample or something like that, or somebody returned it and you can't use it. And so Lynn was very, very happy to get that because she said she knows that the people will just mix and match and they'll make something gorgeous out of it. Even if it takes 3 to 4 skeins to make something. Sandy was donating shawls, and she brought them to the retreat so I could see them, and then she took them back with her when she took my stuff. And she did post pictures on the Ravelry board. But she made several shawls. This one is gold with a yellow edging. I'm not opening them all the way up. This is a white lacy one with blue fringes on the corners. And she's all worried about her fringes, and I think they look just fine. And this is the one she made where we were kind of trying to figure out what she was talking about doing fun fur on the edge. And then, oh, this is where she built the fun fur into the edge. So it is blue with just a little bit of sparkle. So those are all finished from Sandy. I mostly finished my blue and green striped one. I'll post a picture. And it needs an edging around it. And I just didn't feel like taking it with me to Canada, so I forgot my hook when I went, and so Michelle very kindly lent me her hook. And then I was saying, oh, well, I need to be done with this because I need to return it to Michelle. And she's going, you could keep borrowing it. No, I need to return the hook because I was so sick of knitting that crocheting that shawl. The good thing about the power outage is we were spending so much time just sitting around talking that I actually got through a ton of it without even realizing how much I had gotten done, because it got to the point where it was just mindless. Just do 2 rows, switch colors, do 2 rows, switch colors. I was so busy talking to people, I stopped thinking about it. So I actually got a ton done. However, by Saturday, I was sick of it. And when it needed to be at least 60 inches, and when I measured it, it was 59, and I know I still have to put an edge on it, and I said, good enough. And I packed it up for Sandy to take with her. I'm going to have a third shawl. I'm cheating a little bit. Well, years ago, I made a shawl for my grandmother when she went to the nursing home. And I was a fairly new knitter at the time, but it was a good shawl. It's made out of homespun. This is it. It's got these diamond shapes. I really did not like knitting with the homespun, and I didn't make it full size because my grandmother was a very tiny person. I think she was I'm not sure she was 5 foot and 100 pounds. So it's smaller than it needs to be. But I was thinking, oh, I could add size to this because now nobody in the family is going to use it. My grandmother passed away. My grandmother never used it. She was afraid, even though she was 90 years old, she was afraid that using a shawl would make her look like an old person. So she never used it. So it's never actually been used. My son put it on so I could take pictures of it years ago, and I think that was probably the most it was ever used. So I'm going to actually lengthen it. And I know somebody else, I think it was Polly Knits, had actually asked about taking a shawl he already had and sending it. So it's fine. As long as it's the right size, I don't care when you made it. And Mom had in her donation pile that I was supposed to take with me to the people, she had this homespun yarn. And this one is crunchy over here. And she said that they thought somebody spilled something on it, but the more I was playing with it, I think it got too close to a heat source and melted because of the way it's sticking together. And I was showing best friend today, and he said, oh yeah, it looks like somebody had it near a radiator. And it just, because it's on both sides. So I think it was near heat and glued itself together. But the second ball, there's nothing wrong with. And the colors on this are more blue, but they very much pick up the same colors that are in this. I think I have this somewhere, but I thought this would make a more interesting edging and look more purposeful. So I'm going to add an edging to that and count it as a third shawl. And then I will be done with shawls. I mean, I figured I'm making 3. That's good. My blue and green one's at the bottom of the bag, and I don't want to pull it out right now. So that's something else. If you have an acrylic shawl that maybe it's not the right size, but you could add to it, I'll take it. I know a few people have asked for Mom's address, so I don't think she's gotten any more recently, but I have the ones from Sandy here. Alright, I'm going to pause and show pictures of the shawls. So what I was trying to say there is Mom gave me a whole bunch of yarn to donate. Most of it was, all the rest of it except for that was perfectly good shape. This one, she actually had a note on it because even when the person returned it to the store, there's this note on it saying that found it on the bottom of a shelf. They don't know if it got spilled on or what. But anyway, the inside part seems to be fine, so I figured I would use it, and then I wouldn't have to explain it, especially when I saw how well it matched. So then I went to Cambridge, and I went to Mary Maxim on the way to Cambridge, and I bought a Gleaner sweater shaver, which I did not bring. I want to try it before I do anything on here. But several people were really happy with them, and were saying that they had it, and Mary Maxim had it, and I had a 40% off coupon, so I ended up getting one. But I will talk about that at another time after I've used it, and I, can better review how it went. I went through customs. I was so worried about going through customs. And people did say that if I had all the stuff, I probably would have gotten questioned because it was so much. But I had narrowed it down to I had my spinning wheel, my spinning chair, my suitcase, and two small project bags. And my backpack with my laptop for work. So I still had more than usual for a trip, but it wasn't horrible. Normally I would never take my spinning wheel on a work trip, but because I had it anyway, I decided why not? I could spin in the hotel, which I did. I spun some more on my yellow. I now have 5 complete bobbins, and I've started the final 6th bobbin. So I went to Cambridge. The only questions I had in customs are, where are you going? Cambridge. Why? Work. Okay, go. Really? I'm used to having a lot of questions when I go through customs to other countries and explaining how long are you going to be here and when are you going home, and no, nothing like that. When I came back, I was worried because I got a can of Tim Horton coffee for Tiff because somebody she knows likes it. And I was I have some yarn, and I was a little worried because I didn't know how to declare it when you're just driving through, and I'm sure I must have missed something because I didn't declare anything, but I didn't have very much. So, and he asked a couple harder questions, what was I doing for work? And I said we were visiting a distributor, and where do I work? And so I told him, and then he said, okay, go. It was very non-eventful for all my worry. So anyway, Sunday I got there, and my manager was already there, and so we went out to dinner. Monday we went to work, and Monday night we went out with some of the guys from work. They actually work in our department, and we don't normally get to see them face to face, and because they're in Canada and we're in Wisconsin, they didn't get to be part of the Christmas celebration. So she took them and me to there's 3 guys, but only 2 of them came out because one had the flu, and he was not sharing, and we appreciated that. But we went out to a very nice dinner, and she said it was kind of their celebration thank you dinner. So we had fabulous steak. And I had Summersby cider, which I think is now my new favorite. I don't drink a lot of alcohol, but that was so good. The description was that it was apples and honey, and it was so yummy. Anyway, that was the only night we went out with other people. The other nights we had dinner together, and then we went our separate ways, which she makes a very good traveling companion for me. I'm not big on the heavy socializing after you've been doing stuff all day with new people. So, but she had told me that she would try to get me done early Wednesday. And so I was very glad she did. So I got to go to Guelph, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Irene, if you watch this, you can later tell me that I mispronounced it. She's from the area, and I believe it's Guelph. But I went to a yarn shop called All Strung Out, and I had some cash because I was worried because I don't have a card with a chip in it. It's not usually a problem, but it's a little bit of a pain because everybody else has cards with chips in them, and they just punch their pin in. Anyway. But I had cash, so I got yarn. And I try and get yarn that I don't normally see. I mean, there was a ton of Cascade. I can get that from Mom, frankly. There was Madeline Tosh and Lang and lots of yarns that I could get other places. This, however, I had not seen anyplace else, and this is from the West Yorkshire Spinners. It's actually from Britain, but it is blue-faced Leicester in a DK weight. It is soft, and I think it is going to go well with the yellow yarn I'm spinning, if I get the correct yardage. The sweater that I really want to make is from Tin Can Knits, and it has one color in the yoke, and then the sleeves and the body are a different color. So I'm a little worried about having yellow so close to my face. And I'm worried about yardage. I've never tried to spin for a sweater. So I'm hoping that my yarn will come out to about a DK weight, and I thought this goes with the yellow. In fact, I'm going to post a picture here. And yes, that is from the inside of the fridge. The hotel room we were at, has all of the rooms have a full kitchen and then a living room area and a bed. Now, some of them are all open style, like a studio apartment. I had one that actually had separate rooms where the bathroom was off the bedroom, and the bedroom was separate from the living room kitchen area. I mean, there was a door between. My manager ended up getting the other kind because she didn't book it herself. Our admin booked it, and I don't think she knew the difference. She just booked a room. I actually had looked when I was booking to find out what the difference was between the rooms, and I went, oh, I want the one with separate rooms. They were the exact same cost. Anyway, beautiful, beautiful hotel. I mean, it had some issues. One of the elevators was broken, but so nice. They had complimentary breakfast, and it was like decent breakfast. They had complimentary coffee 24 hours. Monday through Thursday, they have complimentary dinner. We ate that one night. We ate there on the Italian pasta night, and they had really good Italian wedding soup and so-so pasta, but anyway, very nice hotel. And in fact, the one day I realized I had two TVs, one in the bedroom and one in the living room, and I really wasn't watching TV. I was watching stuff on my iPad instead. But the one night I decided to just turn on the TV and see what was on, because I was killing time. And I realized that the TV remote in the one room was broken. Okay, well, it wasn't broken. The battery was dead. And so it turned out that the other remote worked on both TVs, so it wasn't a big loss. So I left a note the one day. I put the remote on the kitchen table, and yes, there was a kitchen table, on the kitchen table with just a note saying battery's dead. When I got back from work, there was a little business card from the maintenance department that says, this is the service we've provided. We fixed the remote. We apologize for the inconvenience, and with it was a little chocolate hammer. So I actually have a picture of that. Alright, I thought the chocolate hammer was so cute. I haven't eaten it because I just think it's cute. All that was to say, I had an actual fridge, and given it was evening, I used the fridge as a light box for taking my pictures of the yarn I got. So I think the brown yarn will go well with the yellow. I won't know for sure until I swatch after the yarn is ready, but I think it might work. I also, like I said, I need to know the yardage for the for how much I end up getting with the yarn I'm spinning. I also got this yarn. This yarn is actually this is a rougher, more rustic one. It says 2-ply, 80% wool, 20% nylon, 4 ounces. This is actually a product of Canada. It is from Briggs Little. And it is it's a worsted weight or an Aran weight. And I just thought the color was really pretty. So I've got a picture of this too. In fact, it's with the brown yarn. was really glad I got to go there. And then, so I'm at the yarn shop, and and Buster, the shop dog in training, comes out, and he is a Cocker Spaniel, and he comes out and he's so excited, and he says hello to everybody, and then he comes over to see me, and I seem to have this knack with Cocker Spaniels that they always get overly excited. And Pete, sure enough, he comes over to me, he's so excited, and he wiggles and he pees. And I'm like, and then they're apologizing. I'm like, happens with pretty much every cocker I meet. My mom is going to think this is hilarious, at which point they were sitting there going, oh, so it's my fault. It wasn't Buster's fault. It was my fault. So, and I said, yes, probably. But anyway, he was very sweet. He was a shop dog. He was a shop dog in training, so he was still on a leash. And he was helping the husband, like, wind yarn and stuff like that. So it was a very nice little shop. And very friendly and chatty. In fact, throughout most of Canada, people were very chatty. Even the maids at the hotel were, talking and, conversing and telling you about the elevator and the heat duct and various things. So everybody was super friendly. I did fall down the one day, and the one person who had been washing the floor in the front entrance was apologizing and saying she should have warned me. I'm like, she put out yellow cones. I got a text from my manager right then, and it was a text telling me that she was outside warming up the car and scraping and getting the car ready, because she had to scrape the ice off because it was frosting every night or every morning. And so I went to look at my text, and I was walking, and down I went. I twisted an ankle. I think I landed on my shoulder because my shoulder is really hurting. But it doesn't seem to be out. It just, the muscles are sore. And I think I had fallen over the winter around Christmas time. And so I think I just re-aggravated things. They were so apologetic, and they kept sitting there going, are you sure you're okay? Oh, really, I'm mostly humiliated at the moment. I didn't say it quite like that, but that was all I was thinking, was really just please leave me alone. I'm feeling stupid for falling flat on my face, and they were very worried. So that is most of my trips. I will have more to tell you the next time I record, because my son's going to be here, and I'm going to take a couple of vacation days, and I'm going to a local women's leadership conference, and my son and I are going to see Mary Poppins, and I know I have more projects I'm working on, so I will definitely still have more stuff to talk about next time. But for now, I think this is plenty. Again, I did post the prizes for the comfort shawls. There's some really awesome prizes. Please go look. I haven't really posted them here, including there's yarn from our anonymous donor, where in each case, there are full skeins and then there are partial skeins. And in both cases, the partial skeins actually total up to more than another full skein. So it's a lot of yarn. And then there's sheepy prizes for Mom, and shawl pins from me, and pattern from Suzanne, and an ebook from Tiff, and stitch markers, and row counting bracelets from Crimson Orchid, and I'm sure I'm forgetting some. There's quite a few prizes. There's prizes in the inspiration along as well, but there are definitely some good prizes in the comfort shawls. I am really hoping that when I walk in and give them the comfort shawls, that I have a nice stack. And from what I understand from people sending stuff, I think it will be. But there's a small part of me that wants them to be a little bit in awe. And today she told me that because our knit along runs through the end of April, so I told her that it will probably be the meeting in May that I will bring them, which means actually you won't be eligible for prizes, but if you're running a little late, as long as I can get them before the third Tuesday in May, it should be good. When we get closer, I may start having you send them to me instead of to Mom. But anyway, if we have them, she said she actually wants to know ahead of time what day I'm going to bring them, because she wants to make sure that people know about it and come in and see them. So, and at the end of this, I'm going to post one of the yarn bombing panels that actually has my dad's picture on it. So there's a bunch of places there. They've been calling it yarn storming. I still call it yarn bombing. But I can't wait to see how those go. So I will talk to you guys all next time. Bye now.